Hey, my name is Dwayne, and this is my intermediate GED math series. This is lesson 8, which is on rounding decimals. Right? This is going to be a pretty short video because rounding decimals is actually quite similar to rounding whole numbers. If you don't remember how to round, you should go back and check out my video on rounding numbers. But when we round decimals, there are two things we got to be aware of. These are well, they're not even key differences. They're just things we got to be aware of. All right, the first thing is make sure you're rounding to the correct place. That's true for whole numbers. That's also true for decimals. However, the decimal place values can be a little confusing, right? Remember, the first decimal place value is actually tenths, right? It's not oneths. There's no such thing as oneths. It's tenths. The second is hundredths, the third is thousandths, and the fourth is 10,000ths. So just be aware of that when you're rounding decimals, right? So for example, if we want to round 0.4573 to the thousandths place, we got to start by looking at the number. First we got to find the thousandths place, which in this case is going to be that 7, right? Now, when we round, we want to look at the number to the right of the place value we want to round to, right? So we're going to be rounding that 7 in the thousandths place, so we're going to be looking at this 3, right? Now we're going to ask ourselves, is 3 greater than or equal to 5 or less than 5? And it's actually less than 5, which means we're rounding down. Okay, so that means when we round this, it's going to be 0.457. Okay, here is a difference between rounding whole numbers and rounding decimals. In whole numbers, whenever you round a place, say the hundreds, everything to the right of that hundreds just becomes a 0, right? It's sort of the same in decimals. Everything to the right of this 7 in the thousands place is going to become a 0. However, because a decimal ending in 0 doesn't have to end in 0, we just don't write the zeros. Meaning this 3 is going to become a 0, but because it's at the end of the decimal, we don't have to write it. It's okay, right? So our answer just becomes 0.457. Right? Another example is if we're rounding 2.3964 to the nearest hundredths place. Right? First, we're going to identify where the hundredths place is. That's going to be that 9, right? Next, we're going to look at the digit to the right of the 9, which is a 6, right? Is 6 greater than or equal to 5 or less than 5? Well, it's actually greater than or equal to 5, which means we're going to be rounding up. So this 9 is going to become a 0, or rather a 10, but we can't have a 10 in one digit's place. So this 3 becomes a 4, the 9 becomes a 0, right? Everything to the right of that hundredths place becomes a 0, which means we don't have to write it. And actually, that 9 becoming a 0 also means we don't have to write that. So our final answer is 2.4, right? Our final answer is 2.4000, but again, we don't have to end decimals with zeros. Our answer can just be 2.4. Or if you want to emphasize that we rounded to the hundredths place, you could leave it as 2.40. That way there's still a 0 in the hundredths place, or that way there's still a number in the hundredths place. Which you might do if we were talking about money, for example, right? Money only ever has 2 decimal places. Well, it's not always true, but usually has 2 decimal places in everyday life. So if you wanted to make this a price, it'd be 240. Cool. All right, so we did an independent practice and the lesson review, and yeah, let me know if you have any questions, but thanks for watching.